Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 234. Enough chit chat, let's call it. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
And I forgot to mention it is Friday, January 20th, 2023. For goodness sakes, the year is almost over, and it feels like it just started. I don't know. Anyway, Tyler, how's your week?
Oh, week's looking good. Got some snow here, northern Fort Collins, so I had to shovel. It was about 7 inches, and then shortly after, I placed an order for an electric snow blower that I can use for next time. So I am
Very
looking
nice.
forward to that. I've seen all my neighbors use them, and I'm like, I'm young, I'm strong, I don't need one. And then I got a real snow and purchased one immediately. So looking forward to that.
Nice. We had our last bit of rain last night here in Southern California, and I think we are dry for a week. So, I'm going to go out and not blow any snow. And the
Yeah.
rain's already dried up. So, I don't know. Anyway, all right, with that, let's head on over and see what's going on with our events. As always, if you do not know, if this is your first time watching the show, if you go over to zenatta.com/events or just go over to zenatta.com and click our events tab, this is where we keep track of everything that goes on in the world of Zoho. And there's quite a bit. So the Zoho coming up, you've got Zoho Clicks Unified Communications as a Service webinar, Zoho Show Libraries webinar. There's a bunch of user groups coming up. Quite a bit of stuff this month. So got the customer experience workshops. We've talked about that, all of those kind of things. And then, Zoho is really ramping up the in-person events. So you can go to there. All these Discover Zohos are going on where you can go sit down and, sit down with some Zoho people and they'll go through it. And then taking us into about a month from now, Tyler, we are going to be doing our Zoho CRM 2023 full product tutorial. So if you want to find out what's going on in the world of Zoho, not just our webinars, not just Zohos, anybody who's doing anything on Zoho, if we find it, we post it here and keep you up to date. And as always, if you don't know, on CRM Zen, also we have our resource, or not on CRM Zen, on Zenatta.com, we have our resources library. You can go in, check out our opinions on each and every Zoho app, deep dive into each and every Zoho app, understand all the resources we've built around it, all the articles, all the guides. It is all there at Zenatta.com. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting us. And with that, Tyler, let's jump straight on into the news. All right. Well, Team Pipeline in Bigin is now supported on all platforms, Android, iOS, and Mac OS. They're talking about the application for Mac OS rather than just the desktop web version. If you're not familiar with this basically allows you to have different types of pipelines. You can have pipeline for various teams, keeping track of things. Bigin is a Kanban type style, so you're moving things ahead. So it's just an extension of this. This was released, a couple months ago for Bigin on the desktop?
Yeah, it actually might have even been more like a month and a half back. They kind of started rolling out team pipelines. It's pretty cool. I mean, if you're using Bigin, this is a great way to organize different types of pipelines that might be connected. And, we say it every time there's a mobile update, but really, in an ideal world, anything you can do on the browser, you want to be able to do on the mobile device, especially for something like Bigin that's kind of so targeted on mobile. So really nice to see this come out so quickly after, because I think they really just opened up team pipelines to everybody like maybe a month or so back. So
You're right. Yeah.
let's follow
Yeah.
on so
Cool.
quickly.
Nice update from the Bigin team. And moving on with the news. This is a big one. So,
Nice one.
yeah. So you can now do click to call in Sales IQ. If you're unfamiliar with Sales IQ, it is Zoho. Basically, it's a plugin, a little bit of code. You put it on your website. It allows you to have a live chat bots, tracks your visitors, lets you know who's online, what they're doing, support all kinds of things. Well, they now have the ability to add click to call. So you write from within your chat bot, you can
Yeah.
fire up a call.
Super
Pretty
slick.
nice.
I mean, we actually have clients
Yeah.
that use Sales IQ pretty heavily on like e-commerce sales, right? Like you might be on a certain product page for 30 seconds, right? And now somebody's going to give you a quick chat and say, "Hey, you got any questions?" And a really common workflow for them is actually calling the person that they're chatting with, right? But they're just doing it through like Ring Central, right? So
Right.
being able to actually just like provide a click to call button that just routes directly into a sales or support team through Sales IQ is really, really slick.
Yeah.
The only things we'll have to see with this kind of as we go is, making sure that you can route the calls nicely to different teams, right? So you might have a sales number and a support number. But it looks like they've got call routing, call queue, all that type of stuff. So we'll just have to
Yeah.
dive in and see. But really, really nice. I mean, again, like sometimes it's that last thing you need to do to get someone closed. They just need to talk to you, especially bigger ticket e-commerce items. So really cool update. I mean, it's one of those things that Zoho has this advantage because they have voice over IP built out in so many places. So for them
Yep.
to kind of lift that and create it in their chat tool is probably easier than for some other chat companies. But
Yeah,
overall,
it's pretty
super slick
slick.
update.
I mean, used to be you had to, buy a third party company for this and go ahead and set it up and do it. And it's really dialing a
Yeah,
phone number and you're routing it to that. This is much, much, much nicer because it
yeah,
lives in
really
the
cool.
entire right inside the environment. So pretty major update for Sales IQ. So wow, team is starting the year off with a bang. And moving
Absolutely.
on with the news this week, it's a slow week, but I do want to talk. We talked about this in events, but Zoho is really bumping up their user group in person meetups. COVID is behind us, hopefully, for the most part. And now if you're unfamiliar with the Zoho user groups, these are local. They have got them all over the globe. There's probably one within an hour of you, 2 hours tops
Yeah,
in the world of Zoho. And you basically can join one of these user groups, go there, meet with other Zoho users. There's usually someone from Zoho there and, can answer questions. And so they're back. And it's good to see user groups back again. These are fun
yeah.
to do, talk with other Zoho users. So good
Yeah, I mean,
stuff.
this is one of those things whenever these are coming around. I mean, keep an eye out for them. If you are the Zoho person for your company, right, it is well worth coming over to one of the user groups. Probably meet some partners there, meet some of Zoho's team. They oftentimes will bring some product managers, right, who really have a great understanding of the product. And one of the cool things with these, and again, I haven't been to one in a little while, but it's actually pretty easy to get some one-on-one time with Zoho employees at these events to get some help with things. They're super, super helpful when you come to a user group. So highly
Yep.
recommend it. If it's driving distance for you and scheduling allows, we always really recommend checking these out.
Yeah, and the people that go to these, they're pretty passionate. So, you can even make friends there, just maybe not even friends, but just kind of set up like, hey, let's bounce each things off each other in the world of Zoho. So you got a couple people that are local, you can give them a call, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Because if you're going to these meetings, you're really trying to ramp up your Zoho game. And
Yeah.
this is one way to make that happen.
Good place to meet fellow nerds, right?
Exactly. All right, and wrapping up the news this week, we were talking about this before the show. Another really, really cool feature. Actually, probably need to change this to something that was notable, but in CRM, Zia is now giving you some really cool analytics on best time to contact. So you've probably seen this if you're in a lead or if you're in a contact. In that contact record, it'll tell you here's the best time to call, best time to email, those kind of things. And it's based upon when people
Yeah.
open their emails. And so now they've put together a pretty cool series of reports that you can use to make some pretty good decisions around sending out emails, calls, those kind of things.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, like, again, always important to differentiate emails that should go from CRM versus emails that should go from campaigns. But, like, an example here is, like Brett's saying, you used to be able to know that Tyler Colt, the lead, the best time to email him is at 3. But what if you wanted to report on the best time for all leads, right? What's the average best time for me to send an email? These reports are going to give you that type of insight. So let's say you have like a scheduler running and every single week you want to send people an account summary, right? Well, you could pull a report on this and look at, well, if I'm going to send it to everybody, then the average best time is around 2:30, right? And so you can get those types of top level analytics around this. It's one of those things where,
Yeah,
Brett and I were talking about it a bit before the show, and some of these Zia features are going to come out. They're going to be a little lightweight. They're going to need some time, but then eventually, right, they get features like this, which this is really actionable data.
yes, very. And even if you are sending it through Zoho campaigns, it might be worth taking a look at this because you're looking at your overall customer base, right?
Yeah.
They say, hey, this is the best time to schedule that campaign to go out as well. Best time to call. Really cool stuff. So
It looks like too, it's giving you a
these are
matrix report of date or
extremely
day of the
helpful.
week and time, which is pretty slick as well. So you can know a
Yep.
Tuesday at 3 might be the best time overall. So really, really nice. Again, it's one of those things. Machine learning tools are a slow burn, right? You got to roll them out. They got to start gathering data. But then now this is a tool that's been around a while. So now Zoho is able to implement, some more kind of value add features on top of it.
Yeah, and if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll notice I did an extremely long scroll through all of the various reports that they have produced around this. So there's a lot here. So really, really good stuff. Kudos to the Zia team and the CRM team. All right, Tyler. And with that, let's move on over to our implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is an implementation that we built out pretty recently here. Bruno was kind of our lead developer on this, helped me sort out kind of the nitty gritty of how we were going to go about implementing this for one of my clients, actually. And essentially, the goal of this is selective lead or activation for account-based prospecting. Now, that's obviously a mouthful. Essentially, what the goal is here is, let's say you are a company who is primarily doing prospecting and outbound kind of outreach. A common approach to that is to do it on kind of an account basis, right? Where you know that this company would be a good fit for your services, products. You might not know which person at that company is the right person to chase down. And a really common mistake that gets made when you're doing account based prospecting is over allocating time and effort to one particular account at a time. And that's bad for multiple reasons, right? One of the biggest ones is that if a bunch of emails start going out to a domain, and let's say 5 people at a company receive the same email at the same exact time of day, you're much more likely to end up in some type of company level or domain level filter. Whereas if you are targeting individual people sequentially, you're much less likely to get filtered into like a spam folder or a malicious sender type of folder. And so essentially what our build out here was to first define a lead source that essentially puts them in the holding pattern for activation. So while they're in that status, no emails go out to them, no tasks go out to call them, nothing. They're just waiting to be activated. And then Bruno came up with a pretty clever solution where over inside of analytics, we pull a SQL table that basically surfaces one lead that's in that status per account at a given time. Right. And he does that with a little trick that he worked out with the Unix timestamp. You can actually get like the first lead, right, or the newest lead and kind of filter it that way. And so now that we have this table that basically defines one lead per account that's ready to be activated, we put together a scheduled function that on a regular basis essentially reaches into that table, pulls in the lead IDs that are ready, and kicks them into a new lead status that starts some automated emails and some tasks to place calls and kind of that active prospecting flow. The nice thing is that by changing their status in CRM, they'll actually exit that analytics table before the next scheduled runtime. So essentially, it's able to selectively add one lead per account within a given time period. We're running it kind of like every 4 to 6 hours, while making sure that you are not, again, sending 5 emails to 5 different people with the same domain at the same time, because it's a common thing that's going to get you filtered at the end of the day. And this is a pretty elegant way to avoid that. Nice thing
Wow.
is we kind of built this for one big effort that they wanted to do. But what we realized is that we can just keep it running, and anytime if they get a new account, a new target, they can just drop all of them into that status, and it's just gonna, slowly drop them into activation.
Wow, his lead management's on steroids right here. I mean, that's
Yeah, it's Bruno came up with a couple really good kind of clever ways to do the account filter. That was really the big one is how do we activate one per account at a time in a really
right.
structured way. So big kudos to Bruno on this one. I kind of just passed him the requirement and he did the whole design here. So big shout out there, and definitely one that I would imagine a lot of people doing account-based prospecting might want to take a look at.
Super, super, super nice. All right, and with that, let's head over to Club Zenatta and look at our code share for the week. So, Tyler, this is not only a code share, but we could have put it in news, except it's a very particular kind of news. But Zoho did a really, really nice update to CRM COQL calls. You can now aggregate functions. They also bumped up the number of records by 10x from 200 to
Yeah.
2000. So, explain to the audience what this means.
Yeah, so kind of two things here. I'm assuming eventually Zoho is going to put out a news story on API v4, and then we'll go through kind of the whole thing. If not, eventually we'll just have to write something up ourselves. But a COQL query for the nerds in the room is essentially a way to do a SQL query against your CRM. And one of the nice things that they've done recently here is they've added the ability to run a sum or a count or an average within that query itself. One of the nice things about that is it just cuts out complexity in your code. So basically, rather than saying, get me all deals against an account, and then I'm going to process them in Deluge one by one by one to get the sum, you can just have your initial request run that sum function for you. So just save some time, save some complexity in code. And like Brett's mentioning, it's also kind of a little PSA that Zoho is increasing some of the record limits. So previously you could only get 200 at a time. Now you can pull in 2,000. That's actually applying to a couple different types of API calls. So again, hopefully Zoho will put out a news story there. Otherwise, we'll have to do one ourselves. But nice roll up here. Greg kind of shows an example of how you would apply a lot of these sums and a lot of these averages to your code. If you're a developer and you have not poked around with COQL queries yet, this is your sign that you've been waiting for. They're super useful, and this is a great implementation of them.
Excellent. Good stuff. And if you are not familiar with Club Zenatta, please check us out. This is our online community. We have a bunch. We're coming up on 700 users in here. They are participating in our general discussion forum, answering questions. We have got our code share of the week. You can ask us a question. That Tyler and I will answer at the end of the show. You can put in a request for a video tutorial that we'll put up on our YouTube channel for you. Really, really worth checking out. It's a very active community now, and I'm really happy with the way this is coming out. And you know what we require for this? You know how much money? Zero. You got to give us your email, subscribe to our newsletter. Of course, you can always unsubscribe after you get it, but why would you want to do that? But anyway, check out club.zenatta.com, join the community, and we'll see you there. And with that, Tyler, let's go to our read of the week. We're heading over to the HubSpot blog this week, where they have CRM strategy, why you need one, and how to develop it. Nice little article. I think, they really are kind of covering why you need a CRM, what the advantages are. It's funny, when they talk kind of their big things as to why you would want one. You have happier customers, higher productivity, increased teamwork. You get some hard numbers. I would add into this. They've got the productivity here, but what you can do around automations, these kind of all tie in together, kind of to happier customers, but never letting anything fall through the cracks. Making sure you're following up on tasks when you're supposed to follow up on them. There's just so many reasons to do one, but this is kind of a nice guide to lay out your strategy, what you're trying to accomplish, how you get your employees, because big deal here. If you can't get your employees on board, then it's really going to fail. But these may be self-evident, but something I think that's worth reviewing if you're just looking at a CRM, or even if maybe you've had one for a while and you're not getting the adoption, it's not doing what you want. Kind of go through this list and say, well, maybe I need to start implementing some of these things. So, and they do some nice
And I think
examples.
think a big thing too, and I don't think they really go through it specifically in this. I'd say the one thing missing from this article is to make sure that you have a really clear idea of what benefits you're looking to access in like V1 of your CRM. And because people implement CRM for lots of different things, right? Maybe you're implementing CRM because of sales prospecting. Maybe you're more of an inbound company, right? Make sure that you understand a lot of those core things that it can do and know which ones are necessary for a V1. I think that's the biggest overall kind of strategy thing that we share with our customers and prospects and listeners is that CRM strategy is not a one-time thing. You don't make this document once, build your CRM, and you're done. So plan on doing this in versions and really define what's necessary at each step along the way.
Yeah. I mean, I also think if you were to sit down and kind of, as you go through your business process, look at the things that are taking you the most time. Most time, I think people don't think, oh, CRM can be a time saver for this X, Y, and Z. In many cases, it can be. You look at you talking to a client. Yeah, every time this happens, it takes us a half an hour to do this. Well, many
Yep.
times we can sit down with them and say, well, how about if we just make a button and now it takes 5 seconds to
Yep.
do that entire process because I needed to create this document. I needed to notify these people. I needed to create an invoice. I need
Yeah.
all of these various things that need to occur that you can automate out of the CRM. And it might not seem
Yep.
self evident at the time that the CRM is going to be able to do that for you, but in fact, it can. So, nice
Yeah,
article.
oftentimes I'll share that. Oftentimes I'll share that with people, when I'm on a sales call or kind of a prospecting discovery, and I'll share with them that in our CRM, once I've sent them the proposal, there isn't a single thing that I need to do between that point and our kickoff call. The invoicing, gathering the password, tagging as a partner, everything else can just happen, right? So unless we need to talk again and scope further, right, those types of things, really, once I've sent that proposal, next step is to show up on the meeting that will have been booked through our existing process. And so it's like you're saying, right? Like, why would I go in and manually create an invoice every time a proposal is signed? Right? It's got to
Right.
happen every time, so let's just automate it.
Right, right. And so much. And the people say, "Oh, but I don't want to use Zoho Books." That's okay. But my
Yeah.
guess is you're using QuickBooks. Then we can still do the same thing there. So there's
Yep.
just there's a lot to it that is worth taking a look at. All right, with that, Tyler, let's head over to Zenatta.com and see what's happening over there. Well, Tyler, we did our Zoho One full product overview webinar this Tuesday. And well, it got longer. Last year was 1 hour, 13 minutes. This hour, I think, was 1 hour and 33 minutes, something of that nature. So just a lot more to talk about. And so if you want to, you can go watch our hour and 33-minute video. It's fantastic. Tyler and I are funny. We're good looking. We're pleasant to look at.
Big shout out to Freddie too for our transitions and
oh,
animations going on during the show. Super good production quality,
so
Freddie.
much cool stuff going on there. And what? By the way, if you may know, we have our yes, no, not quite yet categories during this show. Things changed in real time, and Freddie was able
So
to go
cool.
ahead and make those changes as we went through. But really, really a I enjoy doing the webinar. Every year we go through this. It was kind of nice because I almost felt like we were having a real time discussion, Tyler, on these apps in
Mhm.
some cases. And, we actually changed some of them from maybe to yes. And there was a bunch going on here as we kind of thought about them. So worth watching. But if you don't want to read that, you watch that. You don't have time. Well, you can read this blog where the marketing team has done an amazing job of summarizing everything we talked about, all the notable updates for all of the applications, and you can kind of go through and read through here everything that is going on with all of the apps and what happened and how they're broken down. So, uh, pretty cool stuff. So, kudos to the team. That was fun doing the webinar, and I really, like you said, Podcaster Zen has made things get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner for us as our production quality has gone along,
Oh yeah.
and really been fun. And with that, Tyler, I guess we should head over to our YouTube channel and talk about our tip of the week. All right. But before we do that, let's talk about last week's tip of the week, which was Oops, I'm frozen. Maybe you can hear me.
Maybe you can hear you.
You can. All right. So let's talk about last week's tip of the week, which was Greg, who did his how to pull information into what was it? Pulling
Kind of
how to
step
use
one,
Deleuze to get
how to
information,
read data, how to
how to
read
read
and
data,
define.
and pull it in. It was one of the more entertaining videos that we have ever that has ever been produced for our channel, and everybody loved it. So just a shout out to him for the hard work he put into that, and just wanted to share some of those kudos with everybody.
Yeah,
And then this
it's
week,
always a big point of pride when as a leader when somebody can surpass you in a skill. So big shout out to Greg. That his intro on that, even if you're not interested in Deluge, check it out even just for the intro. He's a pro.
and he's got a couple nuggets in the middle there that he throws in that are quite well worth watching as well from that perspective. One of the comments was, "It appears that Greg has tread the boards before." Well, in fact, yes, I think he does lead an improv company in St. George, Utah, and so anyway, good stuff there. So this week, Josh is giving you a tip on how to style your Zoho creator pages using HTML and CSS. And I can't stress how important this is. Zoho Creator is a great tool. And this really doesn't change the functionality of Creator. Creator's got a basic look and feel to it. You can create the application, people can use it. But if you want to make it look really, really pretty, and if you want to make it just really expand the user interface and the customer experience and everything around that, you really need to use HTML and CSS to take it to
Yeah,
that next level. As you know, it's like just so super important. I mean, just the quality of the application when you're done, when you apply this, is it's well worth time and effort. And Josh said he took him hours to do this video to get it right, I think, and it's 32 minutes of really, really quality information. So if you're a creator developer, yeah, I think you want to take a look at this.
yeah, and really these custom pages are how you really kick creator apps kind of up a notch. Right out of the gate, you can create forms and lists and reports, and they're practical and useful. But to really create something custom to your workflow, this is where the HTML and the CSS pages kind of jump in. I will highlight as well, like Brett's saying, if you're a creator developer, take a look at these. Josh is probably one of the best human beings at using HTML and CSS inside a creator. I mean, we're talking progress bars, custom buttons, calls against other Zoho apps, bringing data back, wrapping it in HTML and CSS. It's the stuff that he's doing for our portal and our clients is really unlike anything else we've seen in Creator. So definitely well worth taking a look at that. It's a big element of special sauce there for Creator development.
Yeah. And if you haven't, head over to youtube.com/Zenatta and you can check out all of our videos on everything having to do with Zoho. We have our tips and tricks. We have the CRM Zen Show. We have our webinars. It goes on and on and on. Our implementations of the week are broken down now. So you basically can kind of go in, take a look at those, and I think you will find it of value. It's getting to the point, Tyler, now but we only started this 2 years ago. Isn't that amazing? Right?
That's
Was it 2
crazy.
years?
Well, it would have been beginning of 2020. So I guess it's
Also,
been
all
3
2020,
years.
21. Oh, we're 3 years in now.
3 years deep
3 years
on YouTube.
deep into this. Yeah. And it is just absolutely I think we've got a video on almost everything. We're trying to do some refreshes now. A lot of the stuff because we have to go back and look and kind of so much of this stuff has changed. And also, if you look at our production quality 3 years ago as compared to today, um, some of
Yeah.
it's painful for me to watch. Content's still good, but not
I just
nearly as
always I'll
quality.
use that as an example when I talk to people about it. Our first Zoho One webinar. Do you remember that when your audio was just clipping super hard like the entire time? So it was just
Yeah.
hard to listen to, and just looking back at that to our Zoho One webinar now, it's we're really enabled by our team. So big shout out to everybody that kind of helps us grow this and keep making it better.
All right. And with that, Tyler, let's get into our questions for this week. All right, our first one coming from the YouTube channel after watching Zoho Recruit 2021 full product tutorial. Nick Mitchell asked, really great content. Can't wait for an updated recording. I think we were just talking about that, Nick. Any ideas, experience on how to best utilize Recruit as a staffing agency working for several clients? For example, we've been able to post as our clients on Indeed and LinkedIn and not as ourselves by posting straight through those platforms. But the job boards only sync to one account. Any way around this to white label our clients' hiring process, so they're the ones posting the jobs, but it's really us instead of the company details. I believe, Tyler, they launched an entire agency model of Recruit. Doesn't that solve this problem?
Yeah, I think you might just need the agency model because they also have multi-org within the agency model that would allow you to really cleanly split out your whole kind of job opening and candidate pipeline by client. But I think, Nick, you might just need the agency model to be able to kind of post as your client to a particular job board.
Yeah, it's more money, of course, but it gives you that ability. It even gives you, I think, the people can log in. Correct? The clients can log in. They can see their postings,
Believe
see what's
so.
going on. Yeah. Well, we're taking a look at it. All right. And the next question comes from Jason Geis after watching How to Integrate QuickBooks with Zoho CRM tutorial 2022. Once the connection is made, can we send invoices through Zoho and have them pay through QuickBooks? They're kind of two separate things there, Jason.
Yeah,
The
I
first
believe
one is,
if I remember correctly, this question or this video is more about pulling QuickBooks data into Zoho CRM to show it under contacts, accounts, deals, things like that. To actually send the invoice out through QuickBooks, you definitely can. You would probably just need a custom button that would essentially, organize the data on your deal or on your sales order or on wherever you have it and shoot it via API over to QuickBooks. So it's very doable, but it would be kind of a different method than what we're showing in this video in particular.
yeah. All righty. And moving on here, Raj, after watching our Zoho Work Drive full product tutorial, asked, can I add a user with a normal Zoho mail as a team member, or do they need an email that is the same as the organization's domain? Domains are irrelevant when setting
Mhm.
someone up. So you can
Yeah, we
just add them as a user.
shouldn't need to do anything crazy there. Should just be able to add them.
Yeah, person has a Gmail account, you can add them into your org, give them access. All righty. And then Renuka asked, after watching the Zoho CRM Full Product Overview 2022, how can we import our old data in a trial version? Well, it's pretty straightforward. There's a limit on records, though. I mean, you just basically, if it's contacts, you go to contacts import and uh,
Yeah.
follow the wizard. But there is a limit on records, right, Tyler?
Yeah, there is a limit. I think if I remember right, I think Cody you might know this off the top of your head if you're in the chat. I think it's 5,000 is the record limit within a trial CRM. And I think that's not per module, that's the total number of records that you can import. And then as well, Renuka, we'll probably put a link in this comment that we put back, but we've got a video on, I think it's called like how to import anything into Zoho CRM that actually walks through what Brett's talking about, like where you would go to actually do the import and map the fields. So maybe when we respond to your comment here, we'll just drop a link to that as well.
Yeah, but it's pretty straightforward. And if you got more records than 5,000, you need to test it. The great thing about Zoho, unlike HubSpot, unlike Salesforce.com, it's month to month. So you
Yeah.
could just buy, you know, pay
1
50
month.
dollars for the month, test it out, and you're not locked into anything. So
Yeah.
because there are certain things that get locked down and people want to try them, and you have to
Yeah.
have the paid version for that to happen. All right. And then from Club Zenatta, we have a question from Beat Z. He asked, internal communications in Zoho. We use emails primarily for client communication and have an open policy to see each other's emails. Many emails are internal mails, and we try to reduce them with Click. Which tool/channel is best for internal communication around HR related subjects where we could not use emails because of the way it is shared? Well, Click is a great answer for that. You could
Yeah.
basically just have a private HR channel that nobody can see but HR and you, and have those communications there. If you are doing emails, you'll want to make sure in the CRM that you've excluded your domain. That will limit any of those emails showing up in any customer records or in anything like that. So you could kind of hide them that way as well. But we were kicking this around before. I mean, I'd say Click, Tyler, huh?
Yeah, that's our bias, right? Obviously, when you get down to internal communication, it's a lot about preference. How do you want to communicate about it? Brett and I, if we're thinking about we need a place to talk about a topic internally, Click is just going to be our go-to. Um, other than that, like you could have a kind of connect space for people, but again, like really at the end of the day, if you've already got your team in Click, they're used to using Click. I would say that's the first place to put it is just create a channel there. The trick is just make sure that it's the right type of channel that's invite only, because you can create channels that are organization wide that anybody could just join. So that's really the only thing you'll need to be aware of, is just make sure that you've set up the permissions properly on that channel.
All right. And our next question. So after asking a question about Zoho inventory, Amazon, Shopify, fee sync, I'm going to kind of simplify what he's asking here. He basically has got all of these syncs set up so that they're pulling into Zoho, and he's trying to track the fees. He kind of wants a breakdown of the various fees that are being charged him by Amazon and Shopify, so that he can track that. My guess is, if the fees broken down separately, I don't know what that looks like when you do that sync, Tyler. Are you actually getting the fees? And if you are, you should be able to pull it out and report on it. But maybe you've got to pull it into analytics. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you sell on Shopify, your fees would be credit card fees, really, which I guess you could pretty much like calculate on like a standardized basis. Amazon has different fee structures based on different items or different item types. I don't think that those are going to pull over natively is the challenge. So really, like what you would end up having to do, and this is where you're a little bit limited by what you can hit via a third-party API, but you might be able to reach back to Amazon and calculate the fees. You might be able to hard code it in analytics if you have certain item types, right? And then adjust it that way. But it's a little bit tricky because it's really just going to depend on what data they give you on the initial order creation, and then what you can reach back in and pull from those third-party marketplaces.
Hope that helps, Aram. All right, Tyler, I think that's it for our questions.
I think we had maybe one more question from the chat here.
We did. Popped in there. So Jacob is asking, I posted a question on one of your YouTube videos about having some info about Zoom and Click status integration. Anyway,
Got it. Yeah, what we ended up doing, Jacob, is we were trying to build an integration where, similar to like Zoho Meeting, when you're in a Zoho meeting, it will update your click status for you. And we thought that was really cool. So we tried to recreate it with Zoom. The challenge is that you can't, via like a custom function, update a user's click status for them. So what we ended up doing is we built a bot called Zoomy that you can ask it to notify you when someone is done with the meeting. You can check if someone is on a Zoom meeting. So let's say I want to grab 5 minutes with Brett and I see he's not on the calendar. I could just ask Zoomy, is Brett free right now, basically, and then do it that way. So unfortunately, just because of that limitation in the API, we weren't able to go directly to the click status.
Hope that helps, Jacob. All right. Well, Tyler, another show is in the can here at the CRM Zen Show. I want to thank everybody who joins us. And as always, if you want to get in contact with Tyler or myself, head over to Zenatta.com and just click book a meeting. And as I mentioned earlier, please join club.zenatta.com and participate in our community. If you're a Zoholic, you will love it.
And on our website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you'd follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
Take care, everybody.
This bass line would be stuck in my head all weekend. It's my Friday tradition. There it is.